people who already have diabetes per se, because the fact is they have to come to the clinic. So we do catch them mostly. I'm not saying we don't give it to them, but we do see them in the clinic, so we can always give it to them. But we want to give it to people who don't have it, who will or maybe eventually be at risk of getting it, so that if they're educated, it may somewhat assist them with making better decisions so as to prevent what the outcome could be.
So what is a better decision for food? KFC or maybe
should we be mentioning those things?
Or baked chicken and say a baked potato and some greens. Which one's a...
Well, not the former, but the latter. The fact is that it's not even about the company that makes these types of food. It's about what is in the food and how the food is prepared. So we don't really want to look at the company itself. We want to look at how the food is actually prepared. So we're talking about not just the company that prepares these types of food. We do it at home as well, so we can't really blame them. We deep fry chicken all the time. We batter it and we put it in egg. We put it in flour or breadcrumb, and we do it all over again, and we deep fry it ourselves as well. So the fact is that we can't really blame just companies out there that are doing these things, because people do it at home and they wouldn't mind getting that recipe.
So you're saying baked chicken or fried chicken? Which one?
Baked chicken would be, more, not just more satisfying, because the thing is, that fat, it will fill you up, but it won't really fill you up for long. Lean protein keeps you fuller for longer. So when you put that meat in the oven and it's drained and dripped off the fat, you will feel more fuller over a longer period of time than when you have a high fat meal. Science has proven that over and over again.
Okay, our Caribbean diets. We love our breadfruit. We love our rice. We love our potatoes in all forms, yam, and sometimes we put them all together.
Yes.
No.
And go ahead.
So no, go ahead. Sorry.
And that's why it keeps coming back to me over and over again, and that is the reason why we have to use our Caribbean people to address these things. Because you will have persons who really think that Irish potato is a vegetable. Of course. I've come across, can we say foreigners? Well, I was told that people who don't live in your country is a foreigner. So, okay. All so, right. There are countries who it says that Irish potato is a vegetable, has classified it as a vegetable, but the starch content, and as it relates to quantifying, researchers have quantified, and it has been placed into the group, and it's not a vegetable. It's a staple food. It's a starch. Ground provision, staple, starch. The same thing with corn. Corn is not a vegetable. Corn is a staple food, and corn is starch. That's where you get cornstarch.
But it's, for me, okay, I'm going to say something. I do not consider rice, potato, or corn to be a staple in my diet. Okay, they're no, they might be a dessert that I have maybe every 3 months. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, and I don't even eat rice. I can honestly say rice do not cross my lips.
Everyone is different.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that how can we change that mindset that these things do not have to be staples? Can we?
They're always going to be staples.
Okay. All right. I don't think so, but I'm going to ask you if you want to call in and ask Tamara Worms Riley, who I'm interviewing tonight, about diabetes. 1-800-534-8255. So if you have any questions concerning diabetes nutrition, please give us a call. So
yes, in the Caribbean here, it's hard to tell people otherwise.
Okay.
We won't be able to convince them.
So which one is, if I'm going to make a good choice, I'm going to have a baked chicken. All right. Which one is better out of breadfruit or Irish potato? Which one?
I would say more breadfruit. One, because breadfruit has more fiber.
See that? I did not know that. And
It does.
okay, and it probably, even though it might be have a little bit more caloric value to it, it probably is a little slower to break down
Right.
into sugar
Right.
because of the fiber.
Yes. Though we're still not saying overdoing it, because there are serving size recommendations. But the thing is, with Irish potato, a lot of people peel Irish potato and the fiber is in the skin.
Right, right. So, what is a proper serving size for my breadfruit?
More like of 2 ounces, but then because it is long, you have to look at it. So if you can look at it, it should be. How can I put this? Because nobody can see me.
Yeah, describe
Just
it.
put two of your if you have medium sized fingers, your
Maybe 3
pointing
inches.
finger and your middle finger. Yes, in
3 by
2
one-
by 3.
2
2
by
by
3
3.
inches.
Yes.
Okay, that would be a serving size. Sounds reasonable.
Yes.
Okay.
Or you can come to the Health Services Authority, general practice clinic or specialist clinic, and we can offer you the serving size
Okay.
information.
The other thing is now, what vegetable? I can't hear you. What vegetables would you put in with this meal?
Right. So, I mean, you can use, what we suggest is you have what we call free vegetables, and then you have some that are, more of starchy vegetables. So your free vegetables would be things like your pak choy, your lettuce, okra, sweet peppers. Those are some, free vegetables that you can add to these meals. And then if you want to add some starchy vegetables to it as well. So even though half your plate should be vegetables, we're not suggesting half of it be, starchy vegetables. So it can be free vegetables and some starchy vegetables. So you can have a small piece of pumpkin if you so desire. You can also have carrots in there. You can have, people like cauliflower, broccoli, what else do we have out there? Brussels sprouts as well. There are different vegetables turnips that you can add as well, to that. Depending on your blood pressure, you could add some beets as well. Those are things that you can add to your plate because those are vegetables as well.
So, okay, that's my little baked chicken meal.
Right.
I got how conch and dump and sea pie now. Do you know what that is?
I know what conch is.
Sea pie is like thin dumplings.
Oh.
Okay.
Is it from flour?
Oh yeah. Should I have white flour or should I have wheat flour?
I would suggest that you have a whole wheat flour with that. One, as I said, it takes a longer time for it to break down to the sugars than the white flour.
Okay. I'm sorry. I think we have a caller on the line and I cannot hear the question.
So it's making us a...
Hello?
Yes, I'm hearing. Hello, good night.
Okay, yeah. Tamara's going to answer the question.
Well, hi. Hi, good evening.
Hi.
I'm enjoying the program. Interesting one.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah, I know about that. Just have a lot of questions as well. I personally, as a young man, used to give my grandmother insulin twice a day prior to her passing away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
She passed away from a stroke, but I used to have to, give her insulin for many, many years.
Yes, I
And
can
I had,
understand.
learned to understand a few things. But let me ask. I'm going to put you on the spot there. Do you work with the Health Services Authority?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, so I know it may be a difficult one for you to answer. You're not like the class practice where you may have another freedom. And I know just from the medical field itself, it's difficult to talk about things like alternatives. But I will give you a hard question, and then I'm going to hang up and listen to your response.
Okay.
Is diabetes reversible? There's things out there that people, particularly type 2 diabetes, more than anything else, yeah, I mean, we know about managing what we, but are there things that we can introduce that assist that process in terms of completely reversing it and
Yes.
certainly reducing the whole notion of insulin injections, for example.
Yes.
I have some other questions, but it's too broad for tonight. I'll just listen to your response, all right?
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much for calling. So the question is, our caller wants to find out, is type 2 diabetes reversible? And as you know, I deal with evidence-based practice. And I have seen, and I will not go against what I've seen many research where, based on the fact that the lifestyle changes have been so impactful to the point where, and I'm talking about not just randomized trials, but also longitudinal studies where their blood sugar has been so controlled to the point where you cannot move away from calling it reversed. How can you say it is not reversed if the person has come off medication to the point where they don't need it? It's just lifestyle practices. They're doing so well that they do not need any form of treatment. So if there's no drug therapy needed, then I consider it as reversed.
The one caveat I would like to add to that is you can't reverse the damage already done, right?
Right. No, there are some damages that are irreversible. And if you have gotten to that point where the damages are irreversible, then there's nothing that can be done. And I'm sure your physician will let you know that this damage caused by the lifestyle that you are living is irreversible. But we're talking about being practical now. As I said, the research that I've seen, it's not the persons who have gotten to the stage where their complications are so bad that nothing can be done, so they have to stay on insulin and whatever drug therapy that they have chosen for these patients. I'm talking about people who have been diagnosed, maybe newly diagnosed, recently diagnosed, or diagnosed for a little while, who have taken it upon themselves on their initial stage of diagnosis to not just live in the pre-contemplation stage or denial stage, but live in the action phase and decide to do something about it. So as I said before, there are not just randomized trials out there, but there are longitudinal studies that say that there's things that has happened.
So that means that they were diagnosed with diabetes. Mm-hmm. They took their diabetes seriously, mm-hmm. and through lifestyle modifications,
right,
they change.
Yes, because they have those who were diagnosed, and then they have their controls. So basically, after going through their study, these people no longer needed medication. And if you don't longer need medication because of how you're now living your life, because listen, if you're doing so well to the point where I give you medication and your blood sugar drops so low, I'm going to say to you, I can't give you this anymore. I'm going to hurt you. So there are places, as I said, in studies where it has shown that people have been taken off these medications.
In fact, I think on one of our shows this year,
mm-hmm.
you said that you've had a client.
Yes, I have.
Several clients who have managed themselves well enough to come off a meds.
And I tell you no lies. I have a few clients who have. There was one lady and one gentleman who, the gentleman, he had other concerns. Those, as you know, the manly concerns about being on the medication. And I said to him initially, and I saw this man in the hospital, I said to him, if you have that type of concern, then you know that you're gonna have to do something about it. And he looked at me and he said, because my concern is so bad and I'm in fear, because if that happens to me, I'm literally dead, I am going to do something about it. And he started football, he was going to the gym, he changed his whole, I'm telling you, I tell you facts.
Okay.
When I say eat clean, I'm talking about this gentleman really cleaned up his diet. So when we talk about these refined foods, because I don't want people to, if you're listening to me and you're listening to me now, listen carefully. When we talk about cleaning up your diet, we're not talking about you still going out there and eating, frosted this and sugar that. We're talking about really cleaning up. This man really cleaned up to the point where he eats nothing that is refined. It's only whole foods that if it's not something that was grown and picked immediately to put in his pot, he wasn't having it. And I don't need to call any names. The person know themselves, and it's right here. The other one is in someplace else, so she wouldn't, have any clue about this one. But you know yourself.
So thank you. That was an excellent call from our caller. And if you have any more calls, call in. And we have probably about 3 minutes, so we could probably take a quick question. I was trying to go, what food is better than this? But I'm going to say, hey, this caller had such a good question. Mm-hmm. What I want you to do is tell our listening audience, you have lifestyle, and if you do X, Y, Z, no more meds for you.
No, well, the thing is, I cannot definitively tell anyone that there will be no more meds for you. I can say to you though that you can do better, you can live healthier, and you can maybe get your meds reduced. But who knows? I cannot predict your future, and I cannot predict what happens. Each person's body is different. So basically, you will just have to work with what happens in your situation. So each person's body is different, but I can tell you, you can do so well that you will, if you're on both insulin and tablets, you can, that can be reduced.
What I'm saying is, what can they do? I mean, what are some practical things?
What practical things? So the fact is that you need to go on more whole foods. You have to remove some of the refined processed foods from your diet, because the thing is, with processing comes lots of chemical changes in your food. With processing comes lots of additions to your food. So we're talking about additives such as sugars, salt, and those things. So you have to remove those things from your diet. That's one. Two, you have to make exercise a part of your routine, just like eating. If eating is a part of your routine and you cannot do without food, then you should understand that you need to do some sort of moderate activity as a part of your daily routine. Don't drive everywhere. Don't drive from your gate across the road to Kirk's when you can walk. Don't drive from your gate across the, another supermarket over the road because you can walk. And when you get there, you're like, I could have walked over here. It's not that far. So take the opportunity to use some of your days to walk. If you're at let's just use where I work. If you're at the hospital and you're going across the government building, why drive across there when you can walk? Right? Yeah. So you can walk across there, and it's not strange to see anybody walking. You can walk. I walk across there a lot of times. So you can walk, make your lifestyle, change be a part of what you want to achieve.
Okay. And anything else that you'd like to add? Because we got 2 minutes.
Yes. So I just want people to understand the statistics that are here. More than 21 million live births, children are born affected, having problems because of diabetes in pregnancy. So we're talking to the pregnant mothers. More than 352 million people were at risk of developing diabetes when this study was done in 2017. 1 in 2 people with diabetes were undiagnosed when they did this study in 2017. Diabetes has caused 4 million deaths, as I said, within the same year, right? And the expenditure in the budget between the first of 2017 to the end of the year was $727 billion, which grossly at least 12% of the total spending on adults. So we're looking at facts here, facts as to what is happening with people who are having blood sugar problems.
And let me ask you something. If my research, if I interpreted it correct, the people who have women who get gestational diabetes,
yes,
often they get diabetes as they get older, and B, the child is at a higher risk of getting diabetes. The one.
Yes. So again, research has shown that, oftentimes, not everyone, but majority of the persons who end up with diabetes during pregnancy end up with diabetes at a later stage in life, later age. Sometimes they even have forgotten, because this child is now 25 or 30, and that's when their parents end up with their mother ends up with diabetes. The child as well is also at risk of not just diabetes, but also, obesity problems as well. And research has shown this. So this is something that is largely preventable. So starting out your pregnancy, start looking at what you're eating initially when you're pregnant and throughout your pregnancy to ensure that you manage your blood sugar properly, because it's so easy to develop gestational diabetes when you're pregnant.
Yeah. If you want to add anything, we have 30 seconds left.
30 seconds.
Wrap it up.
Well, as I said, this year again, November 14, we are trying to raise awareness about people who are living with diabetes. And as you heard, the young man called in, and he was so emotional about the fact that he had to give his mom insulin. And that is something that can be difficult. And diabetes affects the entire family. You realize he said his mom has passed away, but the fact is that it's not just his mom, it affected him, and I'm sure it affected other persons of the family. So when you look at it, people, it not just affects you when you don't control your blood sugar, or it not just affects you when you eat improperly. It affects the entire family. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You're passionate about this subject. And one thing I'd like to add before we close, diabetes can be, it's a lifestyle disease, so it's something that you have control of. So work with it, except for the diabetes one. Yes. And I thank you for listening to For the Health of It. We're moving you to the life you want.
Healthcare Pharmacy's second location in Governor Square on 7 Mile Beach has everything you would expect from a pharmacy and more. You can refill and transfer your prescriptions from your phone or desktop and pick up at either one of our locations in Governor Square or Grand Harbor. And remember, our Governor Square location is right across from Public Beach. Drop in and stock up on sunblock and beach goodies Monday to Friday, 9 to 6, and Saturdays, 9 to 2. Healthcare Pharmacy. We care about your health.
No time is better spent than that spent in the service of your fellow man. Brian McGill.
Calling all SIXCA members. The Cayman Islands Civil Service Association annual general meeting is Thursday, November the 15th at the Georgetown Town Hall. So SIXCA members, please mark your calendars. Members, please make every effort to attend this very important upcoming annual general meeting. Be there for the Mix and Mingle social from 5 to 5:30 p.m., followed by the general meeting from 5:30 till 7 p.m.
They want you. They want you. They want you as a new recruit. They want you. They want you. They want you as a new recruit.
Vote for your 2018-2019 Management Council. Get your copy of the 2016 to 2017 vetted financial accounts. Members may submit issues for discussion on the agenda to CICSA, CICSA@gov.ky, or topics can be raised at the meeting. The agenda with documents for consideration will be emailed to members before the meeting.
That's SIXA's AGM coming November 15th, Georgetown Town Hall.
For the Health of It, Radio Cayman's premier health show was brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy and the Cayman Islands Civil Service Association.
This is For the Health of It with Tara Bush. The 12 p.m. weather report is brought to you by Kirkholme Center. To see what you can save this month on kitchen gadgets, housewares, decor items, patio furniture, tools and hardware, lawn and garden items, and gift ideas, check out www.kirkhomecenter.ky.
Cruise tourism is a vital part of Cayman's economy. It is the government's responsibility to create an environment where our people can have an opportunity to grow and prosper today, tomorrow, and into the future. It is a myth that Cayman does not need cruise tourism. It is a fact that cruise passengers spend $200 million per year buying services from small businesses, tour operators, attractions, restaurants, and retail shops. Those funds stay right here, supporting our economy and communities. Support the pairs. Support our tourism.
Satisfaction. satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
7:35 p.m. We are about to repeat, of course, the LA proceeding as conducted today, Wednesday, November 14th, and that begins right now.
Evil, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. The Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord make his face shine upon us and be gracious unto us. The Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon us and give us peace, now and always.
The Honourable Assembly is now in session.
Administration of oaths or affirmations?
None.
Reading by the Honourable Speaker of messages and announcements?
None.
Presentation of petitions?
None.
Presentation of papers and of reports. Annual Report 2017, Hazard Management, Cayman Islands, to be laid on the table by the Honourable Minister of Financial Services and Home Affairs.
The Honourable Minister of Financial Services.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I rise to lay on the table of this Honourable House the 2016-2017 Annual Report of the Hazard Management Cayman Islands for the 18-month financial period ending 31st December 2017. Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the annual report tabled for Hazard Management Cayman Islands outlines the strategic approach of the Department and provides an overview, Mr. Speaker, of activities undertaken during the past budget cycle in the following areas: preparedness and public awareness, response and communication. Mr. Speaker, an overview of the 2017 hurricane season and earthquake activity would be appropriate at this time before sharing some of the activities undertaken by Hazard Management during this period. And so I will provide a brief overview of the activities during 2017. As we all recall, Mr. Speaker, the 2017 Atlantic hurricane season was extremely active, featuring 17 named storms, 6 of which became major hurricanes, Category 3 or above. However, once again, the Cayman Islands was thankfully spared from the significant impacts of such. Severe weather alerts and warnings were issued for a number of systems that track close to the Cayman Islands, including Tropical Storm Brett in June, Tropical Storms Franklin and Harvey in August, and Tropical Storm Nate in October. But in each case, the systems did not result in any local damage. Mr. Speaker, in early September, Hurricane Irma wrought terrible destruction on several other overseas territories, including the islands of Turks and Caicos, Anguilla, and the British Virgin Islands. Mr. Speaker, the suffering and hardships that resulted from Hurricane Irma produced an outpouring of support from the people of the Cayman Islands and Hazard Management. With the approval of the Cayman Islands government, Hazard Management provided both personnel and relief items to the affected islands. During the 2017 earthquake activity, Mr. Speaker, on the 8th of April 2017, our seismograph network registered a 4.0 earthquake 69 miles south of Georgetown, and Hazard Management received reports that it was felt by residents in West Bay. Mr. Speaker, on the 31st of July 2017, another 4.0 tremor occurred 27 miles off the coast of Bodden Town, and this event generated many felt reports, mostly from residents in the Georgetown area. Fortunately, in both cases, there were no reports of damage. Our seismic stations and tsunami monitoring gauge continues to provide information to both the regional and global earthquake and tsunami monitoring centres. Mr. Speaker, as a result of the preparedness and public awareness activities undertaken in preparation of hurricane season in 2017, hazard management personnel prepared and delivered a vigorous public awareness program comprised of outreach presentations to various public and private schools, businesses, and to civil servants. They engaged in numerous media, radio, and television appearances and engaged with residents at several community-based events, including the Agriculture Show, the Ritz Health Fair, and drop-ins at the local hardware stores in association with National Day of Preparedness activities. Mr. Speaker, in April 2017, Hazard Management co-hosted the visit of the Hurricane Hunter aircraft, and over 1,300 residents toured the aircraft and met with the pilots. Throughout the season, awareness trips ran across 4 local radio stations at a frequency of 100 times per day. In observance of the International Day of Disaster Reduction 2017, Hazard Management collaborated with the Cayman Islands Red Cross to provide a 3-day information exhibition for various primary school classes from October 10th to 12th. The objective was to provide students with the knowledge to reduce their risk before, during, and after a disaster. Hazard Management also continued to support one of its key partner agencies, that being the Department of Children and Family Services, in 2017, by assisting with the training of 160 persons in a 2-day shelter management training. In addition, Mr. Speaker, Hazard Management ensured that the shelters were appropriately provisioned, that generators were functioning and fueled, and that the shelters in general were ready to be activated and made operational at short notice. Mr. Speaker, Hazard Management also leveraged technology in their preparedness activities, and their website and social media pages continue to achieve greater reach in 2017. A perfect example of this, Mr. Speaker, was the 185 posts that Hazard Management made on Facebook, which generated over 380,000 views. Other preparedness activities carried out within this period included ongoing development of the Community Emergency Response Teams, or CERT program, within the districts, and the delivery of training and oversight of the development and implementation of continuity of operation plans. These plans set out how each government entity will restore and deliver of core functions and services to the public as rapidly as possible following an impact. Mr. Speaker, on the evening of the 23rd of July 2017, a report was received by 911 operators of the Department of Public Safety Communications of a fire at Seoul Wholesale Petroleum Facility located at the South Church Street. Officers from the Cayman Islands Fire Service, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, and Hazard Management responded to the scene, and a precautionary evacuation order was established for a 1-mile radius around South Church Street facility, and access to the area was restricted with roadblocks. Mr. Speaker, while the National Emergency Operations Centre, or commonly known as the NEOC, was not activated at this instance, multidisciplinary post-event briefings, which Hazard Management played a key role in, resulted in the implementation of a procedural change to enhance emergency responses in the face of rapid onset events. Over the course of 2017, Mr. Speaker, Hazard Management participated in several simulations of exercises with other stakeholder agencies to test the national disaster response mechanism and ensure that the first response agencies and agency support team representatives who deploy to the NEOC were familiar with the required procedures. Mr. Speaker, these exercises included a tsunami exercise in April, the annual hurricane exercise in May, and an exercise for consular agents in June. In the tsunami exercise, Flow and Digicel were required to send a notification message to all customers, which was linked to a survey requesting and asking for feedback about the test. The survey elicited an excellent response from over 1,400 residents, and it overwhelmingly showed that residents felt that a mass public notification system is vital for public safety. Based on the survey results, it was concluded that text messaging was not a reliable method for timely emergency notification. Some persons received it, others didn't, and that hazard management and OFREG began investigating other options with telecommunication network providers. The hurricane exercise was well attended and achieved a number of objectives, including testing with coordination mechanism between agencies and generally building familiarity with the confidence in the process. Mr. Speaker, a summary of lessons learned was recorded for the purpose of improving preparedness and response components of the national plan. Mr. Speaker, an objective of the consular exercise was to re-engage with consulates to confirm the role and responsibilities and understand their expectations in the event of a disaster that impacted their citizens living here in the Cayman Islands. The consular representatives play an important role in the evacuation process, and going through the scenarios of hazard management afforded them a better understanding of their capabilities, which resulted in a commitment to greater functionality in the event of a disaster. Mr. Speaker, as mentioned earlier, subsequent to the tsunami exercise conducted in April, hazard management and OFREG conducted research in collaboration with the telecoms providers to identify a more reliable method of relaying emergency notifications to the public in the face of rapid onset event. As a result, Mr. Speaker, hazard management, in collaboration with the Ministry, successfully advocated for the implementation of the National Emergency System per the provisions of Section 7.1 of the Disaster and Preparedness Management Law 2016. Collaboration between HMCI, OFREG, and local ICT providers resulted in the proposal of a phased approach to implementation, and funding was secured prior to 31st of December 2017 as allocated by the government for Phase 1, which involves the remote broadcast of emergency messages on all radio networks simultaneously. Mr. Speaker, in December 2017, the communications infrastructure was further strengthened via an agreement, the government and the Motorola Solutions, which designed to ensure that the Cayman Islands, having the most modern, future-proof public safety and emergency communications radio system in the Caribbean, to support all first responders, including those activated in response to a disaster. Mr. Speaker, hazard management conducted the necessary research and published the request for proposal, which resulted in the selection of the P25 system, which will replace the existing outdated analog radios with digital radios that have the capacity for features such as GPS location, text messaging, and encryption. Again, Mr. Speaker, the new technology will also enhance the safety of first responders and improve their response time by eliminating blank spots in certain parts of the islands where the analog radio reception is weak. So in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I provided a summary of the Hazard Management's annual report and attempted to highlight some of the key activities that illustrate how the work of the department enhances the country's resilience through public information and engagement, training and collaboration with key public and private sector stakeholder agencies, and improvements in technology. Mr. Speaker, a report on the financial performance of the hazard management will be included in the Ministry's report, annual report. Mr. Speaker, it should be noted that at the end of the 2017, Hazard Management Director McCleary Frederick retired after being with the agency since its inception. So in closing, Mr. Speaker, I would like to recognize Mr. Frederick as well as all of the current and previous members of the staff and management of HMCI for their contributions to the development of the department and our country's national disaster response mechanism. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
(2016-2017) Annual Report, Investing for the Future, Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure, to be laid on the table by the Honourable Minister of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure.
Honourable the Minister of Commerce.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise today on the table of this Honourable House the 2016-2017 Annual Report for the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure, titled Investing for the Future.
So ordered. Is the minister speaking there at all?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
The minister.
Mr. Speaker, the theme of this report is Investing for the Future, which captures the essence of my ministry's key focus during the period covered. Mr. Speaker, infrastructure is one of the basic requirements of economic development, and it does not directly produce goods and services, but facilitates production in all quarters of economic activities by creating positive external economies. It is an admitted fact that the level of economic development in any country directly depends on the development of its infrastructure. As it will be evident when you review the report, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry invested in the future of our country through the promotion of commerce and via thoughtful planning and infrastructure development. The report spans over an 18-month period between 1st July 2016 and the 31st December 2017. It provides a wide variety of information related to the operations, trends, plans, and achievements of the ministry. Included in those, Mr. Speaker, are the audited financial statements, which received an unqualified opinion from the Office of the Auditor General. The construction industry plays a vital role in our economy. The introduction of the Builders' Law in 2017 will alleviate